Welcome to the NDE Insight channel. Today, we're delving deeper into the near-death experience of Tsuruhiko Kiuchi, a distinguished figure in the international astronomical community, celebrated for his remarkable contributions to astronomy. In the initial segment of his NDE, he encountered departed relatives in a heavenly realm. In the subsequent segment, he received a glimpse of his future life, which was later confirmed. Now, in this third installment of his NDE journey, he'll recount his remarkable voyage into history and the subsequent verification process. Let's dive in.
Because I could see my own future, it gave me confidence to begin with, feeling that maybe I would come back to life. Otherwise, how could I possibly see my own future? Since that's the case, I hope that after coming back to life, I can somehow prove that I had become nothing but consciousness, yet could move freely in time and space, consciousness in a near-death state, surprisingly clear, allowing me to think so calmly. This is also a major discovery of mine. Even though the body was on the brink of death, the consciousness was no different from being alive, even becoming clearer, able to think about things more meticulously than usual. This point surprised me greatly. I made several moves while in a near-death state, one of which was an experiment conducted through a friend. If my consciousness could move freely, then while I was in a near-death state in the hospital, I could go to the friend in Nagano Prefecture to see what they were doing. So I decided to visit my friend in Nagano. When I thought of one of the friends in my mind, I instantly moved to the gas station he was running. The gas station was located along the national highway, and the other two friends happened to be returning to their hometown, stopping by to refuel and meet here. The three of them happily talked about past foolishness and the recent events of their lives. I joined in and laughed with them until I couldn't breathe, but unfortunately, I couldn't make them see me. I looked outside and saw the traffic jammed with cars at the traffic lights. I suddenly had a mischievous plan. If, like I previously infiltrated my father's consciousness, I said to my friend that I was okay. If I infiltrated the consciousness of my friend, maybe I could affect their consciousness in some way. So I infiltrated the consciousness of one of my friends and tried to make him imagine the driver in the car stuck on the road as looking like me. Surprisingly, all three friends reacted at the same time. The friend I infiltrated pointed at the car and shouted, "Mickey, Mickey." The other two also started waving at the car, seemingly a chain reaction caused by my imagination. One friend was about to run towards the car, but the driver in the car was, of course, a stranger who looked nothing like me. Then the red light turned green, and the car whizzed away. My friend was very angry at my disregard for him, and the three of them angrily spoke ill of me to each other. Not only the friend I infiltrated, but even the other two friends also had a chain reaction. This even surprised me. Those stories of seeing ghosts firsthand might also be proved by this incident that a strong-willed consciousness infiltrating someone's consciousness can cause the people around them to have a chain reaction when imagining. So ghosts aren't scary at all. They're just the consciousness of someone who is dying, projected into reality like a projector. As long as you think so, supernatural phenomena aren't so terrifying anymore. Perhaps one day, we'll be able to view supernatural phenomena from a scientific perspective. Anyway, because I have planted a strong impression in the minds of my three friends, I am determined to confirm with them after I come back to life. So I left there, and the first thing I did after being discharged from the hospital was to go to my friend's gas station in Nagano. Because no matter what, I wanted to confirm what happened that day. When I arrived at my friend's gas station, he angrily said to me as soon as he saw me, "Weren't you driving by here the other day? Why didn't you come to see me?" I asked, "When was that?" He replied, "Everyone was here that day, so it must have been April 10th, right?" That was exactly the day I was critically ill. I temporarily suppressed the matter of being sick and just told him, "Unfortunately, I didn't go to Nagano that day." My friend looked at me in surprise and said incredulously, "Did I see wrong? But that person really looked exactly like you." Then he told me something that piqued my interest. It was said that on the day they saw me sitting in the car, all three friends later experienced severe headaches and were bedridden the next day because of it. Three healthy young people all bedridden on the same day due to headaches. This is really hard to explain with common sense. My hypothesis for this matter is that because I forcefully infiltrated their consciousness, it triggered their headache condition. People often claim to have headache symptoms when they see someone who has died or is possessed by a spirit. Perhaps this incident can be used as evidence. So, with a firm resolve, I told my friend about the near-death experience and the visit to the gas station on the day of illness. At first, my friend listened with great interest, but then his expression became more and more wary. In the end, he even firmly denied it, saying, "How could such a stupid thing happen? It's just your delusion." After this experience with my friend, our relationship became distant. I couldn't be as open with him as before. Even though I faced him with the same attitude as always, he still remained guarded against me. After this experience, I began to feel that even with close friends, I shouldn't casually tell them about near-death experiences. Anyway, even if I said it, they wouldn't believe it, and they would think there was something wrong with my head. That's why, even though I experienced a near-death experience at the age of 22, such an extreme and special experience, I kept this matter buried in my heart for many years and never mentioned it. During the near-death experience, I tried my best to prove that this experience was real, and one of the pranks on my friends was one of them. But I still wanted to leave more evidence. At the time, I thought, if this was just a dream or an illusion, there wouldn't be any evidence. But if this was reality, this kind of experience isn't something everyone has. So I must leave concrete evidence for people to verify from a scientific perspective. However, I didn't have a physical body, couldn't write down words, couldn't create anything, or leave any trace for examination. As I thought about ways to do so, I indulged in experiencing instantaneous movement across time and space driven by curiosity. I only realized after waking up that from the moment my heart stopped to when it resumed beating, it was less than 30 minutes, but what I felt was as long as eternity. During this period, I traversed through time and space at an ultra-fast pace, almost overloading my brain. Therefore, after coming back to life, I couldn't recall much of the content at the beginning. But as long as there was a trigger, memories would awaken vividly, as if a switch had been turned on. That is to say, the memories of time travel during the near-death experience were firmly imprinted in my consciousness. One of the locations I traveled to was reminiscent of the Edo period in Japan. I arrived at a house where there was a male poet, explaining that the family had been producing poets since the Heian period. I infiltrated the consciousness of that male poet like I did with my father's consciousness. With his perspective, I looked at the Japanese paper used to write tanka poems. My thought at the time was, if I could use this person's body to leave something behind, maybe it could become evidence that I had visited this era in this place. When I came to my senses, I found that I had entered the consciousness of the man and had written down the hiragana characters for the word tsuru, means crane in English. In my heart, I silently vowed that if I really came back to life, I would definitely find this evidence. I also probably knew that this man was a famous poet. After awakening, I began searching for who might have left behind those two characters. Following my memories, I found a prestigious family in Kyoto. This family, descended from a renowned poet, had their tanka poems included in the famous 100 Poems by 100 Poets anthology. The family preserved a collection of their ancestors' tanka poems written over generations. From the descendants of the family, I learned that in one of the tanka poems in the collection, there was the meaningless character tsuru, means crane in English. Descendants had long viewed it as an unsolvable mystery. That tanka poem had nothing to do with vines or cranes, and leaving behind the word tsuru was both an extra character that violated the rules and couldn't become the brushwork of a genius, lacking the elegance expected of a master poet. Because it couldn't be explained, generations of descendants had been puzzled by why the word tsuru was left behind. When I spoke of my near-death experience, they took out the anthology to show me. There really was the character tsuru, unmistakably the word I wrote when I entered the consciousness of that man. This way, it could be proven that I did indeed come here at that time. The descendants of the poet also said that this long-standing mystery had finally been solved. Just waking up from the near-death experience, I also once told myself that what I experienced was just a dream or hallucination during a critical condition. At one point, I even thought I had a problem with my brain. But over the years, time and time again, It proved that my experience at the time was real. I no longer doubt it. Now, I deeply believe that my mission is to convey the experiences I gained during my near-death state to everyone.